Welcome to You Can Do It. This is part of the mini refresh series. So today we're looking at doing a quick oil change on this Mini. We've completely refreshed the engine, so it's running with new piston rings, and well, it's new everything else as well, but the piston rings mainly. So we're going to basically drop the oil out of this quickly, and I'll show you how to do a oil change from start to finish, and at the stick with this to the end, because I'll show you the tools that I use as well. So the reason this is still running is because I want to keep that oil all circulating around, and all any metal particles that are still in there from the run-in are still floating in the oil, and then I want to quickly drain the oil. So now you need to make sure your vehicle is level. Now obviously you can see that this is not level, it's sloping down, but I've got a couple of ramps which I'll put that up on, and then that will basically make it level, plus it has the added advantage of lifting the front of the car off the ground so I can get underneath it. So let me quickly put my ramps in there. Okay, that's on the ramp there. We're actually for our camping for the bus actually. They're on there, that's nice and flat, and the sump plug is at the back of the engine, and it's on a slope like that, so that's going to be perfect. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is put the mat on the ground there so I can lie on there, and we will get this ready to quickly drop the oil. I've got my oil tray, I've got my rubber gloves, and I've got under there a socket with an 8mm hex which needs to go under there. So let's get under there now. So we put this under here. So what we're going to do, the hex in the crack it so it's a little bit loose, and then I'll put that underneath it, and I'll use this one, yeah, because that oil is bloody hot. So I'm going to use that to actually undo it so I don't get boiling hot oil all over my hands. I've done that. There's all the oil dropping out of it now, nicely into there. Okay, so we'll leave that for a bit. That'll all drain out. Alright, just remember, if you undo your cap here, the oil will come out a lot quicker. Okay, because it's got a bit of it'll have a bit of a suction in there. So we're just going to leave that now for that all to drain out. So the reason to do it while the oil's nice and warm is that you'll just get rid of everything out of there, and only metal particles will come out with it. Okay, let's leave it like that for a bit. So while that oil's draining underneath that into there, what we need to now do is 8mm, undo that, and then we can move this out of the way, and we can get to you can see the top there, right? And we need a 27mm socket for that. Okay, so that's for your filter. So let's just undo that, and we'll move that out. 8mm on there. So we'll just get that off now quickly. Put up there so we don't lose it. All right, so then that means, and then what this is, this sort of comes. It's clipped in at the back there, so you need to sort of tilt it like that. There we are, see? And then it can come off those clips. But I need two hands for that. And a filter cap there. So we need a 27mm socket to get on the end of that. I've got a new filter there. I've got a tray here, just like that, so I can put the old filter straight in there, because you always end up getting bloody oil everywhere with that. So let me just undo that. I'm going to undo that. There's my 27mm socket on there. So let me just undo that now. Okay, it's not stupid tight, so it's coming off. So let me just we'll just do that by hand. So we'll spin that by hand, and then I'll pull it straight out and put it up there. Hello! We'll spin it by hand and I'll pop it in there. Okay. Right. Okay, it's coming straight out and it's in there. Luckily the way these are, you don't get too much junk, so you can see it down there. So I'm just going to clean that up there with a bit of a rag and the oil there, and then we'll start putting the new filter. So what we can do now is, this is the old filter, and we'll pull that out, and then you've got a little seal here which you can use a pick to change, which will be, the new one will be in there. So let me just pull all that off. So these filters are the same both ways around, so you can't get it on the wrong way around. So what we'll just do is clean that up on the outside, and then we'll open that up and pop the new seal in. Right, these are the original mini ones. These Perflux ones. And the last one I put in, I thought was a man one, but they're all the same. So what I'm going to do now is put that one in there. Right, that's on there with the new seal. Put in there. So now we can put that back. Now we just want to make sure you got a little bit of oil on that. Rub some oil around on there so it doesn't stick once you can't get the bloody thing out. So just make sure you got a bit of oil around that on that rubber seal. And then put it in and screw it in. Okay, when you're doing that up, that basically you just feel it suddenly lock, and you can't go any further, so don't over torque it. So don't go stupid, you'll just be doing this up and then it will suddenly lock, you can feel it. So just don't do it up too tight. Okay, so that's on. It's tight, so now we can put that up. I've cleaned all that up, and actually on the filter case, on the filter cover, it says, was it Perflux? There's obviously the OEM. Right, so that goes in there. 8mm back in there. Okay, so now we can actually put this down and chuck all the rubbish into there. But look, there's no oil anywhere. So the challenge with an oil change is not to get any oil anywhere other than inside the engine. Okay. Now what I'm going to do on this, because I've drained it with the oil so hot, I want to make sure that there's oil all around it before I start the thing up. So I'm just going to make sure that all these are off. Okay, so now I'm going to fill it up with oil and we turn it over. It's not going to start, so I can spin it over a few times to make sure I've got oil pressure everywhere. All right, so let's go back down underneath and put the sump pump back in, and we're ready to fill it up with oil. All right, that's stopped dripping now, so I'm going to wipe that down with the rag and put the sump plug back in. But unfortunately the sump plug fell into there, so I'm going to go and find it in there, clean it up, and then we'll put a new washer on it, and we'll put it up there and put it. You don't actually have to put a new washer on it. It'll still work all right with the new. You might just put it a little bit tighter, but yeah. So I'm going to do that. Let me do that now. All right, there we are. We put that in there, and I'll just do that up nice and tight. Okay, that's up there nice and tight now. I actually used quite a long round there to give a bit of, you need to do those up quite tight. I don't know exactly what the torque is, but anyway, they're up there now. That's nice and tight. Right, so ready to put the new oil in. I've got a container here with this 1 litre, and I'm just going to fill it up 4 times. I know I've got 4 litres in. It takes 4.5, so I can put 4.5 litres in. And I know I've definitely put 4.5 litres in, and then we'll see what it's like on the dipstick. So I've got these. I get these big 20 litre tubs of. This is actually Long Life 3 for VW, but it's also BMW approved Long Life 4 Porsche VW. It's a 504, 507. So that's as I say, 530 fully synthetic. So I just use that for everything, all the VW vans and the minis and things like that. So I'm going to decant. I've decanted 1 litre in. So let's fill that in. So that's 1 in. I'm going to do 3 more and then a half, and then we'll look on the dipstick. Okay, so what have I done in there? I've put between 4.25 and 4.5 litres into that. Now the way you measure this, these dipsticks are an absolute nightmare to read. I mean, they could have made, I mean, for all the technology, this engine won loads of prizes. And one of them it didn't win one for us, making a dipstick that's really easy. So we've got it in there now. Now what I've actually done, I've taken off these because I've drained it when the oil was so hot. I want to make sure there's plenty of new oil around, because obviously when you drain the tank, drain the sump, you don't get any, the oil is not in the oil pump. So what I've done now is I've just taken these off, 1, 2, 3, 4, spun it over a couple of times, and now we can put these back on. So obviously it won't, now we can put these back on, spun it over a couple of times. Now I mean, you don't need to do this, I'm just being extra specially careful because it's a new engine. So I want to give it all the chance it's got. Okay. So they're all back on, bang, bang, bang. So now let's just check the oil list. We take this out here. Now these are really difficult to read. So what you need to do is completely clean that so it's absolutely spotlessly dry. So let me do that. So that's totally dry. So see that little hole there? Keep the hole there. Put it in here. Now don't just put it in and don't twist it. Just push it down. Yeah. Push it down like that. So this is down. Leave it. All right. Now pull it back out, you see, and your hole is there. Now do not twist your dipstick, right, because of the oil. But now we can see there, look, see where the oil level is. Now I think that's about 2/3 the way up that, 2/3 the way up the thing there. You can see. I need to put a little bit more in. Yeah, right. What was interesting, before I span that over to fill up the oil filter case and everything, that was showing that it was totally full to the maximum of oil. So that's dropped it by about that much off that dipstick. So what I'm going to do is just go and put a little bit more into that, and then we'll take the car for a spin. All right, that's in there. Make sure that's in there, done. Right, so now what we're going to do, start the engine up and just let it tick over for a bit. And then we'll double check the level here is fine, and then we can take it for a spin. Right, always check that you don't get that the oil pressure light's not on. So let's try and start this up now. There we we are, lovely. So it's good, no lights are on. It's ticking away, so we'll just let that tick away for a little bit. Check we've got no oil coming out from underneath or around the filter, and then we can take it for a spin. Okay, I've just run that for a few minutes, and while I've turned it off and the oil's draining down, I'll tell you what you need for the oil change. So obviously you need something to drain the oil into. You don't need to have that, but you need a can or a funnel to pour it in actually accurately into the engine. You obviously need some oil. I'm using the Long Life 3 from VW, which is it's also BMW Long Life 4 spec. So you want 5 litres of that. You need a filter. I'm using the original Mini Perflux filter. You need 8mm socket to take off the expansion tank for your coolant to get to your filter. You need that to do which is an 8mm, or I think it's actually a T55. A T55 socket is probably better, but I just use an 8mm. And obviously you need a wrench here to do the filter, 27mm socket, and then you need somewhere to dump your old oil, obviously, and then somewhere just to keep all your shit and keep it all nice and clean. So that's it. That's all you need for your oil change. Hope this video is helpful. The video is made for people who just maybe haven't done it before and they just want to have a full summary of what they're supposed to do when they change the oil. So I hope this video has been helpful. If you like the channel, subscribe, send me any comments. See you in the next video, and just remember, you can do it.